you looking to increase your hookup ratio and keeping that fish pinned?
Choosing the right rod will make a difference. It's Dave.
And Dan.
And welcome to another video from Beyond Headwaters. Today we're going to discuss choosing the right topwater rod so you can hook them up, keep them, and bring them to the boat. Right, Dan?
That's right. So remember to like and subscribe, and we're going to jump right into this.
Yes. So Dan, tell us a little bit about the rod selections that we have available. There's a lot of options out there, right?
Yes, there's so many options of rods that we have available to us. Choosing the right rod can be a daunting task if you don't have the right information. So we have to remember this. We're talking about topwater here. So typically our topwater, the majority of our topwater, we're not talking frogs. That's a whole different subject. We're talking like walking baits, poppers, those kinds of topwater, old school topwater lures. They're
very visual fishing, my favorite.
Yeah, so all of those lures are going to have treble hooks.
Yes.
So it makes a difference as to the action of our rod. So like here I have a topwater lure, a walking style bait. It's got treble hooks on it.
That happens to be a spook, which has been used by
for
chameleons.
50 years. And it's a great bait.
Yep.
So having the right rod makes a really big difference because for multiple reasons. Number one, the action of your lure when you're fishing. Your casting, your accuracy. You know, you want to make sure you make that good cast, accurate cast, and then be able to operate that bait properly. So what we need to talk about is what is going to be the best rod, or in this case the best blank. The blank is the main part of the rod. That's what we're going to be looking at today. The action of that rod. You know, you don't want to throw this a topwater bait on something you would fish, say a Texas rig worm, or that you use punching. It's not the right tool for the job. You can drive a screw with a hammer, but it's a whole lot easier with a cordless drill.
Okay. So what exactly are we looking for in the rod? What type of rod are we looking at as far as action and build, if you will?
Now this goes for spinning and bait casting.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the action of the rod, how the rod bends, how the blank is made. So with these treble hooks on these lures, we want to make sure that we don't tear those hooks out of the fish's mouth. So one way you tear the hooks out of a fish's mouth is by having a rod that's just too stiff. So I like a rod that, like most of my topwater rods, are going to be, I'm going to preface this by saying, a lot of the labels that you'll find on your rods that tell you the action of the rod, each manufacturer and each style within that manufacturer is going to be different. Like a medium heavy crankbait rod is going to be different than a medium heavy topwater rod. And
really, unfortunately, there is no standard.
There's no standard.
Each company has its own standard, if you will. But as far as kind of at an industry level where we can kind of match apples to apples, oranges to oranges, we can't really.
Right. So in that respect, as in the power, what's the power? Is it medium heavy, extra heavy? That's what's different within the industry with each manufacturer. Now, when we're talking about the action of the rod, as in, is it a fast tip, extra fast tip, moderate? So in this case, we're going to be talking about a rod that's got a fast tip, but a medium power rod. So this is the way I think about it. When you talk about fast, extra fast, moderate, I'm thinking more the tip of the rod. Okay? So we're talking about basically this section of the rod to the tip. How much does this guy bend compared to the rest of the blade? There you go, hold that. Now, as you guys can see,
this is a bait caster, so bend the other way.
Pull down it. Now you see there's a lot of flex here, but not much in this section. Now this is not a stout rod. I use a lighter action rod. Just because I say lighter action, don't go look for a light action rod. Okay? So I want this section to be softer, and then we're going to call this the midsection. This will be the butt section down here. This will be our tip. I want a softer midsection of rod and a fast tip. The fast tip, what it's going to do for you is it's going to help with your casting accuracy and getting that lure out away from you. Faster action rods, I'm talking about the tip now, tend to be better casting rods.
Now, remember, for those of you maybe a beginner, that when you cast that rod is, when you go back, it's bending and loading up, if you will. So you've got the butt, the midsection, and that tip. So that's what we're talking about, and then it comes through.
Right. Yeah. So there's some different things. So the tip of the action of the tip of the rod makes a big difference, as in your casting accuracy and the way you're able to work your lure. Like in this case, for this particular, they call it a spook, it's a walking bait. So when you cast it, it zigzags, it walks when you have the right rod tip. Now for fish fighting, we talked about early in the videos, like you want to increase your bites, your hookups, but keeping that fish pinned. That's where you have the softer midsection of the rod comes into play with baits with treble hooks. Because if you have a really stiff rod, like say your worm rods, you got that nice rod that you're going to really have to pull fish out of heavy cover. The problem with that is, as in the world of topwater, is you're likely to tear those hooks out of the fish's mouth. That's why we're going to need a rod that's got a softer midsection to fight that fish and keep them hooked up.
It's especially true for on the saltwater side for species like sea trout.
Well, yeah.
Sea trout have the membrane around their lips is really
very thin,
it's thin.
thin.
If you rip back,
you're going to lose your fish.
Like this.
Yeah.
Quick.
Yeah. Quick. And typically you fish a lot of lures like this with topwater, with treble hooks on the topwaters for the trout. Same way with bass. I've had fish that tear off the hooks because I'm too aggressive, fishing a little bit too heavy of a rod, and that's how I end up in this area, this kind of rod for that. So remember, fishing rods are tools. So again, you can drive a screw with a hammer, but it's a lot better when you can use a cordless drill.
Now, I notice you have braid on your line, so let's talk about line and maybe leader selection.
Okay, at one time I would never fish braided line with any treble hook bait because, well, no, what would happen is I would tear off a lot of fish until I discovered years ago that I needed to get, my rod it's basically a shock absorber between me and the fish, and there is no stretch in the braid. So what I started doing is I got a little bit lighter with my rod selection. So as in, how heavy is my rod? How stout is it in the midsection and the butt section of the rod? Now, if I was fishing all monofilament, what I would use is a little bit stouter rod. If I had my choice between the two, as in rod selection, I'm always going to go with a little bit stouter rod with mono and a little less stiff of a rod with braid. And the reason being is the stretch, the difference between the two. Braid has no stretch, so I need a little better shock absorber. Monofilament has a lot of stretch, so I actually want a little bit stiffer rod so I can keep that hook pinned in that fish's mouth even while he's stretching that line. And a little bit stiffer rod is going to help in that situation.
Let's kind of end this, and I'm going to ask, so what are the mistakes you see people doing?
All right, one, as we've discussed, picking just too stiff of a rod for the application. That can make a big difference in whether or not you come home with fish to eat like trout or catching that bass of a lifetime on your topwater float. That can make a big difference. Some of the other mistakes that I see as it pertains to the actual fishing and fighting of fish, one, you have a blow up on your topwater and you immediately swing to set the hook. Yeah, I mean, everybody has missed fish because it's exciting to see that.
Generally gets going.
Yeah, so what I do is I'm working with this particular bait, I'm working my bait back, boom, I see the topwater, and I just start thinking now that don't set the hook, Danny, because if you do, you're going to miss the fish. That's like a millisecond, don't. So what I do is I continue to work my bait. When I feel the fish, I pull into the fish. Especially with the braid, I can pull into the fish. I don't have to have this crazy hook set.
Yep.
Okay? So that's one. Swinging on, visually seeing that fish bite and trying to set the hook. Two is really setting the hook hard. Not necessary with treble hooks, unless you have really garbage treble hooks, which you should never have that. You need super sharp hooks, so as you're fishing, you get a bite, you can pull into that fish, the fish stays hooked. So avoid visual hook set, you know, getting your visual cue to set the hook from the fish when he first blows up. Wait for the feel, then pull into him. And two, a crazy hook set like you would for throwing a big Texas rig 10-inch worm. We don't need those heavy hook sets. If you just kind of slow your roll a little bit and pull into the fish, take your time, you'll catch a lot more fish.
That's it. One thing I do as we wrap up is I do the count. If I see if I see the hit, I do the 1-2 set.
Yep.
Recently caught some redfish on Topwater, the redfish came up, and I see him pushing water, and of course I get excited. I'm ready, and I had to take a deep breath, do the 1-2, and then bring it back. Not rip it back, but bring it back. That I found helped me anyway. Yeah,
and thinking of redfish, since they pull a lot of drag, and big bass will pull a lot of drag. Drag settings are important with your topwater. Any kind of topwater lure, you know, it's going to be way different than your Texas rig. You're going to want a little bit lighter drag. That way, when that fish surges, you have even a little bit more forgiveness. There. So the fish isn't tearing those hooks out of its mouth.
Well, Captain Dan, thank you for those that insight and those tips. Hope you guys put that to use. Please, if you do, send us some photos. We'd love to see your topwater hookups. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, comment on that below. Make sure you like and subscribe, guys. I hope this helped you out. If you have questions, shoot us a quick message, and we'll get back with you and give you some answers.
All right. So long, everyone. God bless you.
See you on the water, guys.